I feel like shit.
Monday, happy days. Tuesday, Wednesday, happy days.
It's just one of those
happy days. The weekend comes, my cycle hums.
It's just one of those days where you don't wanna wake up. Everything is everybody sucks. You don't really know why, but you wanna justify ripping someone's head off. No human contact, and if you interact, your life is on contract. Your best bet,
Just knock it off, you scum bucket.
it's just one of those days. It's just one of
Monday,
those.
happy days.
It's just one of
Tuesday,
those.
happy days.
It's just one of those
Happy
days.
The weekend comes, my cycle hums. Ready to make stand.
It's just one of those days, feeling like a freight train. First one to complain, leaves with the bloodstain. Damn right, I'm a maniac. You better shoot, cause I'm fucking up your program. And if you're stuck up, you just locked up. Next in line to get fucked up. Your best bet is to stay away, motherfucker. It's just,
I'm losing my cool.
it's all about
Monday, happy days.
It's just one of
Tuesday,
those,
happy days.
it's just one of those
Happy
days.
The weekend comes, my cycle hums. Ready to make stand. These days,
Feel like shit. My suggestion is to keep your distance. Right now I'm dangerous. Right now I'm dangerous.
Something's happening to the bonds.
And if my day keeps going this way, I just might.
I'm gonna pop you one so you'll stop playing games.
Give me something great. Give me something great. I hope you know I pack a chainsaw. A chainsaw. A motherfucking chainsaw.
What?
So come and get it.
What we got here is a case of mistaken identity, you know? See, now this here,
Not Robert.
Almost forgot to press the mute button. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chief Moody, and welcome to episode 100. Damn it. Whoops. Welcome to episode 201 of the Mood of the Nation podcast. How is everyone doing? It is still really good weather in terms of being a Thursday. At what time is it? Oh, yeah, of course, after 6 p.m. Sorry, my head's a little bit all over the place at the moment, considering that this is my second day off work, and I'm still in that whole chilled out mood type of feeling just now. I'm feeling like that until I go back to work tomorrow. But even then, I was like, you know what? I did say in the last episode that when it comes to making more episodes. So we're basically back here for the 201st episode of this very podcast. So yeah, anyways, again, apologize if I'm a little bit all over the place, but I will get a little bit better. Just don't worry about it. I do have some topics I want to cover, and then we shall see from there. I'm going to do the stream tonight for about maybe an hour and a half up until 7:30. And again, we'll definitely wait and see from there. The last half an hour of the show, of course, depending on how fast I cover the topics for tonight, we will then move on to the usual Q&A section or question and answer section. I'll put up a little banner in the show just to let you guys know that that's the section of the show started, that sort of idea. Anyways, let me just have a quick look and see who's in the chat just now. I do see people referencing the wallpaper, of course. Let me see. We have 77th Brigade, Chaz Smash, English Rose. We have Ochiai-san in the chat. Ochiai, I think you're live as well, as I've just seen in my subscription box, which is really cool to see. But also, thank you very much for coming along. I'm watching this with my audience. That's pretty based. Streaky Bacon, Carlos Saxon, Taito Alba, Rory Herbert. I think I mentioned, did I mention Streaky Bacon already? And Peter Walker. Thank you all very much for coming along and watching this very show. 13 people watching, which is really good to see. Hopefully more people will come along. And also Rigor Mortis just came into the chat. Thank you very much for watching Mood of the Nation, episode 201. See, Sir Thomas Lipton, how you doing? Thank you very much. It's a bit weird saying 201 or even just 200 for that matter, considering that from episode 100 through 199, I've always said 100 and so and so. So which I never did that for the last episode, of course, 200, but I'm sure maybe that will be the thing to get used to in terms of like, oh, here's episode 200 and some. Anyways, thank you all very much for coming back and watching the show for, again, episode 201. We just finished another milestone episode this past Sunday, I think it was, that we went live. Of course, being episode 200, which of course I had a few guests on that evening. I had Mark Collett on, I had Jody Kay on, I had No Chance, and I had Ayatollah. Again, saying this for the record, again, I want to thank those people for coming on the show, and hopefully I will get them on as individual guests later on the show at some point. But there's also been a guest I've been thinking about having on in terms of the first major guest at post 200 episodes type of idea. So I'm going to see when exactly to have them on, because I was thinking about having them on next week's episode for episode 202 on the 23rd of May. But then I realized, oh, wait a minute, next week's episode, which will be airing on the 23rd of May, that's going to be an anniversary date, because the first ever episode of Mood of the Nation first aired on May 23rd of 2021, I think it would be. I think it might be 2021, considering that this year would mark the 3rd anniversary of the show's existence, which that's crazy. We've just passed 200 episodes, and now it's going to be the 3rd year anniversary of Mood of the Nation, which again is really really crazy to think. And what I was thinking about for that episode for next week, of course, I'm thinking about maybe doing some kind of, I don't know if it might be the right word, but maybe retrospect, maybe like a look back episode. So basically, it would be looking back on the entire show from episode 1 up until now, just to see how far we've come, basically, with regard to the show's quality and all of that. So again, just like a little retrospect, if you will, type of idea. I see Bill Athling's in the chat. Hello, Bill. Thank you very much for watching. It's been a while since you've been watching the show, but really great. I appreciate you coming along. I'm just looking at the chat as well from Rick and Morris top 5 wallpaper moments. And he's always there, but yeah. Anyways, so yeah, I'm gonna do that for next week's episode. Again, being the 3rd year anniversary, we'll do like a little retrospect type of episode. Whether I'm not sure whether or not if I just want to focus that on just Mood of the Nation, or even just like past videos I've made. Even from my very first video I did up until now, because just a bit of a reminder, I first started making videos back in 2018, I think it was, which last year would have made that, I think, maybe 5 years I've been making videos or something like that, which again, crazy to think. I know maybe it was 2018, but anyways, but yeah, so maybe I'll do that, or maybe have it specifically about Mood of the Nation, but again, we shall see. And then after that, that's when I'll think about having that guest on for episode 203, maybe 204, but we'll definitely wait and see with that. It is someone that I've been wanting to have on for a while, and then hopefully they would like to come on, because it'd be interesting to see again their perspective on nationalism, and in terms of the more creativity side of nationalism. I'll keep it at that. That's the only reference I'm going to mention regarding to that person. Maybe about your own highs and lows on nationalism. I mean, that could be a good idea regarding to that particular episode, because yeah, even during my time making the show, there have been some high points and there have been some low points when it comes to that, whether it's from again from myself or from what's going on around me type of idea. So yeah, maybe that might be part of that perspective as well for next week's episode, but we shall see regarding to that. Anyways, what time is it? 11 past 6. Right. Let's get right into the show itself, shall we? And also, again, if you would like to support me, support the show financially, you could always send a donation through to my PayPal or buy me a coffee. The links for those will be down in the description down below. The PayPal link is pinned up there. So if you want to send a donation, like a shekel or two, via those platforms or links, then you can do so if you so want to regarding to that. With that, I'm just going to see if I can have a look in my notes and what we're going to be talking about. Just oh yes, I know what we'll talk about. Now, this is something. This news right here is technically old news. This has been going on. Well, this happened, I believe, last week or maybe almost 2 weeks ago. But it is something that was very close to where I live. Well, saying that, it happened in Glasgow and Paisley, to be specific. And I think it's something worth talking about. And I'm actually surprised I didn't manage to talk about that on the last episode. But again, considering that it was episode 200, I thought maybe I would kind of focus on that. And then with that particular episode, with that particular topic, I'll maybe save that for the next one, which of course would be this episode just now. Just looking at the chat real quick. Let me see. Bill Athling. Yes, it's been a while since I was in the chat. I have listened to some episodes, but it's life. It's just been complicated, sir. That's fair enough. And following on to that, yes, it's been a while since I was in the chat. I have listened to some episodes, but it's that's what you said earlier on. That's completely fine. No worries, Bill. Thank you very much. Right, I'll get that up, and then I'll get this link up as well. And then we'll get started, shall we? Now, this particular news story, I'm sure many of you have already heard about this. Many of you have already looked into this as well. And it's a good thing that I'm going to talk about this just now because, like I said, it's not very, very close, but again, it's happened in Scotland. It's happened in Glasgow, more specifically in Paisley. I think it really puts a perspective on the dangers of having these migrants into this country, which I know that might be about what some people may think is a controversial statement to make, but I think after this whole fiasco with this gentleman here, and I use that term loosely, I think that might definitely look into this, or people may look into this further and think, maybe. Sure, maybe not all migrants are like this, but the fact that this still happened, I mean, it was a potential danger for a lot of people, especially in that area. So let's have a look at this real quick. I'm just going to get the right screen here, and then we'll get started. And I'll hide that as well. Here we go. So this is from the Scottish Sun. There is a video, but I think I might want to wait until we actually look into the article itself. So it says here, in the dock, man in court charged with murder bid after cop chase with chainsaw on Scott Street. Now, again, this is somewhat old news at this point, about almost 2 weeks old, I think it is, or maybe a week and a half old. But again, it's something that I've not really mentioned or covered, whether it be on my other platforms, I'm on like Telegram or Twitter. So for this episode, it'd be interesting to see if we could talk about this for tonight's episode with regard to that. So anyways, let's have a look here and see just now. A man has appeared in court charged with attempted murder after a cop was chased with a chainsaw on a Scott Street. Lyridun Castrati, I'm sure I may have butchered that name. And that's a name, by the way, we will come back to just later on after this article for good reason regarding to this, right? Age 30 from Paisley appeared in the town sheriff court today to face charges over the alleged incident. And is there just photographs at the moment? Oh, here we go. The alleged incident unfolded after a vehicle crashed into a stationary police car on Glasgow Road. Pictures from the scene showed a wrecked patrol vehicle smash into a wall outside a home on the street. Footage shared of the alleged incident appeared to show a man chasing a uniformed officer with a chainsaw. Dozens of officers raced to the scene and arrested the suspect, which I believe there is footage of that. And I did see that footage of all the officers just gathering around and of course, arresting them and trying to put them down and whatnot in that case. It was, very, very crazy. Like, I've seen a lot of people, I believe, from Paisley, seeing it firsthand of the whole incident of what happened. And of course, rightfully so, just completely shocked at what they just witnessed. Anyways, officers closed down the area after the alleged incident. 2 officers were injured and had to be treated by paramedics. Mr. Castrati made no plea as he appeared in the dock. Alongside the murder bid allegation, he was also charged with 4 road traffic offences, breach of the peace, and being in possession of an offensive weapon in a public place. Is there any more after that? A Police Scotland spokesperson said around 1 p.m. on Monday, the 6th of May 2024, a disturbance involving a weapon occurred following a collision involving a car and a stationary police vehicle on Glasgow Road in Paisley. 2 officers were injured and were treated by paramedics. A 30-year-old man has been arrested and charged in connection with this incident. He is due to appear at Paisley Sheriff Court on Tuesday, 7th of May. A report will be forwarded to the procurator fiscal. And is there more to that? No, there isn't. Right. Okay. So that was the incident that happened. And like I said, everyone in Scotland was talking about this. This was a very shocking case of what happened. And I was pretty shocked at that myself. I couldn't believe it myself with that. There was one piece of information that piqued my interest here, of course. And that's the name of the person in question, which is, of course, Leridan Castrati. Again, I don't know if I may have pronounced that correctly, but at this point in time, I'm not really too fussed about if I pronounced it wrong with regarding his name, because again, he was running about like an absolute lunatic with a chainsaw, and I think, God forbid that this would have happened, he could have killed somebody, especially using a weapon like that. Now, the reason why I think this name here is interesting, because it's not exactly a very British sounding name, is it? Which is why I had to look up the name itself. Well, by name, I actually looked up the word Leridan at first, and I didn't know whether or not if I should do the full name or maybe just like do the first name then the last name. But what I have found here with the first name, Leridan, it even says it here in terms of like origin of name. Leridan is a boy's name of Albanian origin. Now, this is interesting, folks, because I was actually at my grandparents' last night and I was talking to my granddad, and he actually brought this conversation up in the first place about this incident in Paisley, because he told me that he had a friend, or he has a friend, who also has a friend working in Police Scotland in Glasgow. They're not like a police officer or a police constable or chief or anything like that at all. They mainly are doing administrative work at Police Scotland. But what this woman or this person told them, that, and which of course this friend told my granddad, is that this person, this perpetrator that did this with the chainsaw and of course running about with it, was actually an Albanian. And the reason why he did it was because he was denied, I believe he was denied asylum to continue living here. And because of that, he was basically told to go back to his country of origin. He didn't particularly like that, which is why he went off and did this complete horrific case, which even then only just cements the idea that he's not exactly going to be going back to his country, but instead he's going to be locked up in a Scottish prison, which means that he's going to be, I don't want to say looked after, but he's going to be fed and clothed and all that while he's in a Scottish prison, instead of actually going back to his home country. So that's is an interesting point to make regarding to that in this case. But yes, again, this whole case right here is another example of why it's quite. People should be very cautious when it comes to these migrants moving over here. I mean, it's a bit interesting earlier today because I was out and about. I was actually at the butcher's trying to get something to for lunch basically, and I couldn't overhear a conversation with this with a couple of people there. It was a conversation between an older middle-aged woman and the younger woman, who's again a migrant, by the way. She sounded, I don't know, maybe like Italian or something like that, but she didn't have these Slavic type of accent, like Polish or Hungarian or anything like that at all. but I don't know if I may be right in saying this, but she maybe came from another European country, like again maybe Italy or Greece. It did sound a little bit that type of accent, but I wasn't exactly too sure. But this conversation, just kind of hearing that, this older woman mentioned about how it's somewhat of a good thing that that these kids nowadays are actually getting learning different languages or English type of thing, whereas back in her day, because I think she was maybe in her late 40s, maybe 50s or something like that, and when she was a kid, you never really see anything like that during her time in school. And I just remember thinking at that point, saying or thinking to myself, yeah, the only reason why you never saw that back then was because there wasn't a lot of migrants moving into the country. But now we're living in a time where it's like these migrants, regardless if they're coming here legally or illegally, they're just flooded into the country. And sure enough, you're gonna get stuff like that where kids are going to be learning other languages or learning English when they come over here or anything like that at all. So yeah, it really is a case of with this particular incident that this is why it's always should be a bit of a cautionary tale as to why it's not always a good idea to have these migrants move into this country, because again, if they get denied asylum as to why this gentleman was the case, then this is potentially what they do. They just completely just lose the complete plot, and then they could potentially kill somebody. I mean, that guy with the chainsaw. I mean, thank God nothing severely happened, except that two officers were injured, but hopefully they're doing okay. The fact of the matter is that someone could have died, because of that, and the person holding the chainsaw, and the fact that he's not exactly going to be leaving the country, but instead he's going to be locked up in a Scottish prison. I mean, it kind of makes you wonder whether or not the person who did that, maybe they did that on purpose, because this is the only way that they can actually stay in the country and not be what's the word? It's not exiled, but basically having them being sent back to their country of origin, in this case, Albania. So, anyways, that is that particular topic, and it's again, thankfully, no one was hurt, but I wouldn't be surprised if something like that were to happen again at some point in the near future. Hopefully not, but I mean, in this day and age, you can't really tell anymore, can you? Sandra's spicy Spanish salami sandwich. How you doing? Thank you very much for watching the show. And Budgie Burger, how you doing? Did you see that his name was Castrati, because that's Italian for castrated? I think I pronounced it right as so it's Kastrati. So castrati, I think. But even looking through the names, like Lyric for instance, that's an Albanian origin. I want to have a quick look and see his last name. Wait a minute, because again, that possibly Albanian origin as well. But 1 second, name. Yeah, I'll just share the screen for you guys as well, just to see this in terms of his last name. 1 minute. Where was I? Oh, here we go. Right. Castrati, surname. Castrati is an Albanian surname. It is derived from the name of a tribe of the, as you can see right there. So, yeah, clearly the guy in question holding the chainsaw, again, was a migrant. He was from Albania. And, of course, the reason why he did this, again, according to what I was told, I don't know if this might be the actual case, but again, from the sounds of things, I wouldn't be surprised if this would be the case, but he was denied asylum of continuing living here, and that's why he went off to do this particular rampage, if you will. So, anyways, let me continue on with the chat just now. Streaky Bacon, perhaps he was looking for work as a tree surgeon and showing off his skills, said Keir Starmer. Wait, did Keir Starmer? No, there's no way Keir Starmer. I that sounds like a complete piss take. There's no way someone would actually say that. But I mean, but again, in today's climate, anything could be said and anything can be done. So I wouldn't be surprised. But no, I highly doubt Keir Starmer would say something like that. Um, Rory Herbert, Chief Footy, do you believe that the average police officer or police Scotland officer should have the right to bear arms? Um, I mean, if it's for a case of maybe a severe case that does require that type of weaponry, then I would say yes, absolutely. I would also say in terms of like bear arms, again, I believe that the public should have that right to bear arms, even though it's not exactly an American sort of culture or anything like that at all. But I do believe in the idea that people should defend themselves, not outright assaulting or killing or anything like that at all. Of course, I'm completely against that. I'm just saying there comes a point where if you're being attacked or potentially being mugged or anything like that at all, then I do believe you have a right to defend yourself. And I think a weapon like that, again, it's entirely up to the person if they want to own one or not. I think would be the potential way of actually maybe solving the problem type of thing when it comes to that. And I think it only should be used if it's 100% absolutely necessary, especially again when it comes to self-defense and when it comes to that. So to answer that, yeah, I do believe the police and the people should have a right to bear arms type of thing. Extract, yeah, maybe that might be the right word. Yeah, might be the right word in that case. Let me see. Roy Herbert again. I would rather have a sub. Okay, that's his response to Streaky Bacon. Public Address News. How you doing? Thank you very much for watching Mood of the Nation. Chaz Smash. Are Albanians white? I don't know. It's. In fact, where exactly is Albania? I never actually. I have a feeling that might be somewhat of a. Oh, 1 second. Albania. Where exactly is that? Albania. 1 second here. Republic of Albania, country in Southeast Europe. So it's just above Greece. It was next. It's next to Greece and Serbia. For just looking at the world map. Right. I've always wondered where it was. So, yeah, I agree with Streaky Bacon that maybe like white-ish. Yugoslavia, South Balkans, right? I did remember. I actually did see something like that as well in terms of the Balkans when it comes to that, right? Yeah, even Streaky Bacon, yeah, it's a piss take, Chief, but with Starmer, you never know. Yeah, exactly. You never know. You never know. Albanians like Turks, they are Muslim. Yeah, speaking of which, is Albania a Islamic country? That's something I've always also wanted to know as well. Albania, just Albania, Islam, Islam and Albania arrived in Albania mainly during the Ottoman period, when the majority of Albanians over time converted to Islam over Ottoman rule. Right. Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised if maybe it had something to do with that as well. But anyways, so with that, we'll just move on to the next topic at hand here because that is 6:30. Right. Let me just get my notes again, and we'll see what to move on to. Actually, I know exactly what we're moving on to because this is something that I watched on STV News last night because, like I said, I was over at my grandparents just to have a little catch up with them. Sometimes we would watch, a bit of TV as well as spending time together. And of course, one of the shows that they would mainly watch is STV. And this particular news story came about And I thought, well, this could be something that did pique my interest, maybe something I could talk about on the show. And I also did see quite a few people covered it. For instance, the Justice Report covered it as well. So I thought, right, I could but definitely talk about this because it's to do with an assassination attempt in Slovakia, I think it was. Let me have a look at this. Well, in fact, I might as well just get the article up here and then we'll have a look at this together. It's about Robert Fico, if I'm pronouncing it right correctly. Ochia-san, again, Albanians are technically Europeans. What do you guys think of that? That's a question for the chat, I would imagine, by Ochia-san. Thank you very much. Streaky Bacon, I worked with loads of Albanians over the years. Fair enough. Let me see here. All right, okay. So let me just continue on to share the screen again. And we'll have a look at this article. Now, this article was from the BBC. And when was this? 16. Oh, so this is today. Now, this story, I saw it on the STV News yesterday. So this is, about maybe a day or two old at this point in time in terms of what happened. But the title of the article reads, Suspect charged with attempted murder of Slovak PM Fico, or Fico, however I think it's pronounced as Fico in this case. A man has been charged with attempted murder of Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico after the politician was seriously hurt in a shooting attack. Now, I had a quick look into this Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico, and I believe looking through the research and all of that, he is one of those populist type of politicians. He definitely has a somewhat of a pro-Russian stance from what I can tell, and so it kind of seems to me that he does lean more to the right, maybe the right of center. I don't think it would be somewhat the equivalent of an ethno-nationalist or even just like a straight up nationalist for that matter. I think he's more along the lines of, say, your Nigel Farage or your Tommy Robinsons, that type of right-wing conservative type of populist type of person, at least from what I can gather or doing my own research regarding to that. And I'll just continue on with the article here. The alleged assailant has not been formally named, but Slovak reports have widely identified him as a 71-year-old from the town of Levice. I hope I pronounced it right. Reports say he could face up to life in prison. Mr. Fico, age 59, is in a serious but stable condition after being shot several times in what colleagues described as a politically motivated attack. Interior Minister Matis Sutaj Istok, I'm going to butcher these names again, I apologize, told a news conference on Thursday that the suspect has acted alone and that he had previously taken part in anti-government protests. This is a quote from him. This is a lone wolf whose actions were accelerated after the presidential election since he was dissatisfied with its outcomes. Peter Pellegrini, I hope I pronounced that right, a populist and ally of Robert Fico, won April's vote. Shot 5 times at close range. It was in broad daylight on Wednesday that Mr. Fico, surrounded by a crowd of supporters, was shot at close range. A gunman fired 5 times, hitting the Prime Minister in the stomach and arm. The attack took Mr. Fico's security detail completely by surprise. Footage showed several officers bundling the wounded PM into a car before driving away at high speed. While the others detained the suspect, Mr. Fico was rushed to a nearby hospital in an air ambulance with injuries described as life-threatening. He was then transferred to another facility in Banska Bystrica. I'm going to butcher these names. Sorry. Bystrica. Again, apologize for the mispronunciation. East of Handlova, where surgeons and trauma teams worked through the night to stabilize him. On Thursday, the hospital director told a news conference that Mr. Fico's condition was stable but truly very serious, and he had been moved to an intensive care unit. Mr. Pellegrini later said that he had visited Mr. Fico, who had been able to speak at a few sentences. Again, this is a quote from them. The situation is very critical, and we have to give him a lot of energy and be positive. Local media reports describe the suspect as a writer and political activist. A video being widely circulated on Slovak media purports to feature him. In the footage, the man says he disagrees with the government policy and it stands towards state media. The BBC has neither verified if the person in the video is the perpetrator or who has detained at the scene, nor the circumstances under which it was filmed. Now, just a little quick point to make here in this case, because again, this Prime Minister or the Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico, again, as I mentioned of doing my research, he is a populist type of politician, and it's very interesting. And this is also points to me that his colleagues have also pointed this out as well. It's always interesting and fascinating seeing these. I don't want to say leftists anymore, but these globalist types of people that are all about, migrants and wanting to be global citizens, if you will. These are the same groups of people that would accuse people like Robert Fico or anyone like that at all. Again, another like populist type of person or politician, always accusing people of that side of the political spectrum to be violent and to be aggressive and all of that. Well, I mean, here's a case example of, again, the only people that comes off as very hateful and all of that are the people that claim to stand against hate, which in this case being these globalist types. And it's always very interesting and really funny to see. I mean, we've seen these types of people, again, accusing people on the right to be violent thugs when what we've seen time and time again, these are the ones that are the violent thugs, especially when it comes to groups like, Antifa and all of that. Especially with regards to them, again, they stand by their political principles and whatnot, but then they hide behind balaclavas, which, I mean, it really it kind of makes you come to think whether or not if they actually stand by what they believe in, or what I've actually been kind of mentioning as of late regarding to these types of people. I tend to think these people who are very globalist and all about migrants and wanting open borders and support even the little things like supporting Drag Queen Story Hour and whatnot. I tend to believe that these are people that are complete, not LARPers, because I used to say that a lot, but I would believe that these people are the definition of conformists. See, these are people that will tell, again, your conservative right-wing types of people, like say people like us nationalists, right? They would tell us that we're the conformists, we're about wanting to make families and all of that. But to me, partly to do with being a conformist is going about being part of the status quo, right? Now, I mentioned this before on the show, but what exactly is the status quo in our current society? Well, that's, again, supporting open borders, that's supporting immigration, again, regardless if they come here legally or illegally, supporting the LGBTQ type of agenda, which is going on. Speaking of which, again, I know it might seem a little bit off topic, but it kind of ties into what we're talking about just now. But again, I think it was STV News or ITV News, I'm not entirely too sure, but there was a report that came out about the sex education in schools. And there's a potentiality of wanting kids as young as, or I think there was a bit of a debate going on in terms of like how young should the kids be to learn about sex education. Now, the logical way of looking at this would be ages around 13, 14, maybe 15 years old at the very most regarding to that. But I don't think the ages of 9 years old, at that point should, kids at that age should be learning that type of stuff in terms of sexuality. I think 9 years old and under is way, way too young regarding to that, or even below 12 or 13 years old is way too young, in my opinion. And there's a lot of debate to the point where in that news story, there was, of course, the journalist interviewing with the general public. And of course, you have this woman who you can just easily tell that they support all of this LGBT agenda. They probably would take their child to a drag queen story hour event, because she mentions stuff like, well, just look around you and times are changing and all that. And you just think to yourself, yeah, she definitely, and this is a woman, of course, and you think to yourself, yeah, this is somebody who definitely supports this whole globalist agenda. And I mean, dare I say, if their child came to them and said, "Oh, I actually identify as this," they would be happy to have that child go through gender affirming treatment, whatever is technically called regarding to that. But yeah, it's really interesting regarding to that, and I think people who do support that or anything that's very pro globalist or anything like that at all, those people I tend to believe are conformists at the end of the day. They see we're the conformists, but if you look at them and their patterns of behavior and all of that, those people are the real conformists, because part of conformality or conformity, whatever the correct term of that word is again being part of the status quo. And I've just mentioned what's the status quo of our society. Well, all the stuff that I've listed earlier on. So yeah, definitely in this case, they are the definition of conformity. Anyways, could continue on from this. Politically motivated attack. Several Slovak politicians called the shooting an attack on democracy. On Thursday, Slovakia's outgoing president, Zuzana Kapitova, I hope I pronounced that right, appealed for calm and invited all party leaders to a meeting to discuss political tension. Meanwhile, Slovak President-elect Peter Pellegrini called on all parties to suspend campaigning before European Parliament elections scheduled for early June. Mr. Fico is a divisive figure at home for his calls to end military aid to Ukraine and sanctions on Russia. Yes, I think that's what I've also heard on STV News last night as well. The shooting came on the day Parliament began discussing the government's proposal to abolish Slovakia's public broadcaster RTVS. Thousands of Slovaks have protested against the proposed reform of the public broadcaster in recent weeks. However, a planned opposition-led demonstration was called off on Wednesday as news of the shooting emerged. In his interview with the BBC, Deputy Prime Minister Taraba blamed false narratives by opposition parties in Slovakia for the shooting. Our Prime Minister several times mentioned in the past that he was afraid that this would happen, Mr. Taraba said in another interview with the BBC's World Tonight programme. And Interior Minister Mr. Estok accused the media of contributing to the climate that led to the 59-year-old's shooting, telling a news conference, "Many of you were those who were sowing this hatred." Pavel Sturba, again, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, a foreign affairs correspondent for the Slovakian newspaper, Denik N, told the BBC News channel that the current governing coalition has painted targets on the heads of journalists, members of NGOs, etc. I have some information that some of the newsrooms in Slovakia are being patrolled by police right now, he said. And that is the article itself. So there we go. Interesting. I'll come back to that in a moment here. And then, because there was another article that kind of came to my attention, something that I wasn't planning on talking about tonight, but maybe we can talk about that in a moment or two. But anyways, yeah. So there's your other story there just now. There was someone in the chat who said, evening to me there. Robert Ingram, how you doing? Thank you very much for watching Mood of the Nation. So, yes, there is a case of an assassination attempt on a populist politician regarding to that. So, with regard to that. So, thanks to translate what you wrote into Japanese to my audience. Thank you very much, Uchiha. It's kind of weird in a way because, but thank you very much. But yes, the reason I thought I would talk about that in this case because it's something that, even though it happened in Slovakia, I think it could easily happen over here as well. Because again, the prime minister in question of Slovakia Robert Fico is, again, like a populist type of politician. So it would be interesting to see, and not that I would want this to happen, but again, because this happened over there, I wouldn't be surprised if something like that were to happen over here as well. Someone, again, from the globalist side of things would try to do some kind of assassination attempt on a populist right of figure type of idea, but I don't think that would happen, nor would I want that to happen. Again, I think it would be interesting to see something like that were to happen because, again, you've got a lot of crazy people in this world nowadays, and I mean, if this were to happen, then yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe something like that would happen down the road. I hope not, but I wouldn't be surprised with regard to that. So, Rory Herbert in the chat reads, my prep school had a biology class when I was 12. There was no mention of sex education at all. It was purely about male and female anatomy. Fair enough. And maybe they should kind of go back to that in the future. But again, what we're seeing nowadays in sex education nowadays, it's just rife with pure propaganda. It's rife with pure propaganda. In fact, I don't know if I'm able to find this on Twitter, but I was on that earlier, was it today or yesterday? And sure enough, I did see some images of if you think it's bad, or if you're wondering how bad it is, then yeah, just have a look at these. I believe they're images from Germany, France, and the third country, maybe from Belgium, I think. I'm not entirely too sure, but it's basically you have a woman who's white and the male who's brown, probably black, but it looks more brownish. And again, there's this idea that it's promoting, mixed racing and all of that. And it's very graphic in how it's portraying, sexuality towards children and all of that. Which again, it's just, why are you having children being taught at that age? I don't know. It's just really, really bizarre. And I'm just really convinced at this point in time that people who support that and wanting children as young as that to learn sexuality at that age, I think are just absolute full-blown pedophiles at this point in time. Might be a bit of a stretch to say, but I mean, look, there's a lot of really sick people that will do anything to take advantage of children nowadays, and it's scary. It really is absolutely scary to think. After all, again, another thing to mention too that I don't think I've talked about on the show before, but there was a video that I came across on, again, the same platform, Twitter or X, and there was a video. I think it was a news broadcast of something. Again, you had a news anchor. I don't think it was a news anchor, but you had those news broadcasters that were talking about something, and in the background you can see there's a little boy and there's a guy wearing glasses next to him on the boy's right side, I believe it was. And the guy was like being really suspicious with this little boy, like to the point where it's like, I actually can't believe that this has been broadcast and how it's it was a very grim video. Yeah, it really just goes to show that how just open these people really are. It's really, I know there's this whole argument that, well, we have the internet and of course it's more open with that, but the fact that you're seeing that on, that's what he did, nibbled his ear. It was really the fact that they're just being so blatant and open about it. It's shocking. It really is absolutely shocking that not only are they open with it, but they're just like gleefully just rubbing this in your face that, yeah, these people are around and this is what they're going to do to your kids. And it's like, you can't exactly do anything about it because, let's be honest here, any pedophile that gets sent to court, they just get a very lukewarm type of sentence. Well, not even a sentence. In fact, it's not even like a slap in the wrist they even get. It's literally they just get sent to court and then they just get released and hopefully they just won't do it again. Meanwhile, if you're a nationalist and you put up stickers that are that are of legal tenure, they don't break any laws or anything like that at all. That doesn't matter. You get sent to prison for like what, 2 years. It's just it's complete. I know it's a bit of a meme at this point, complete clown world, but it really is. You can basically get away with pedophilia than being like a nationalist type of thing. Like, but basically, in today's society, it's way worse being called a racist than it is to be a pedophile. In this case, it's something you just cannot make up whatsoever. I don't understand that. I really don't. Even people that are not necessarily on our side. I mean, I just don't understand how they can't see through the whole, racist is basically a code word for anti-white, because that's exactly what it is. Because look, when it comes to racism and that type of subject matter, it always seems to target on white people and never usually the other races or anything with that at all. I mean, again, you have some civic nationalist types who are like, accusing, these people of like racism or reverse racism or whatever, but it just doesn't have the same effect. And again, it's not mainly targeted on them; it's mainly targeted towards us, white people in this case. And yeah, it's a complete clown world we're living in just now. And yes, I agree, Rory Herbert, free Sam Melia, definitely. If I where oh yeah, I do know where that badge is. It's still on my jacket. I've wearing the suit for episode 200. But yeah, that was that. What was the other thing I was going to mention? There was something. Oh yeah, I just want to have a quick look at something here just now. Actually, now with this article, do I want to talk about this or do I want to save this for maybe later? 1 second. Nah, maybe we'll save that story for maybe another time, or maybe even I can save that for like a separate video. But again, well, I'll have a read through it and then kind of see from there. So with that, folks, maybe what we can do is we're just approaching almost 7 o'clock already, and I did say that I was going to do the show for about an hour and a half. We could possibly do a short Q&A section. I'll just get the banner up here just now. 1 second. Where is it? There it is. Q&A. Ask your questions in the chat or questions. So if you have a question to ask me, please feel free to ask me them in the chat. It could be anything you want, and I'll be happy to answer them with regards to your questions. So 1 second. There we go. Yeah, so what I was looking at there, folks, was another article again by the BBC, and it was something I saw on Telegram earlier on, and I thought, maybe I could talk about that, or maybe I can save that for another time. The article in question is basically the woman aiming to drive change in the sex industry. Now, that is something to possibly talk about, but maybe we can save that for another time and maybe wait for maybe wait for another time on the show, or maybe again I can maybe save that for a separate video, because I remember I don't know if you guys remember this, but I remember before doing Mood of the Nation, I was doing live streaming, but it wasn't called Mood of the Nation at the time. There was a 2-part streaming video series I did. It was supposed to be a 3-parter, but basically I did 2 parts, and then the third part would have been the last ever part to do for basically it was about the porn industry and how bad it could possibly be, and the third part was supposed to be the big finale type of thing. Whereas the first couple of parts were about the origins of the porn industry, who's behind the porn industry, and just how big of an industry it really is, and how corrupt and abusive that industry can possibly be. And the third and final part was going to be about the modern day part of the industry, like OnlyFans and all of that, and how it's still an exploitive type of industry that remains today. I should have them. I think I still have them on my YouTube. Maybe they're on my Odyssey, but I'll dig them up and I'll see if I can post them again on my Telegram. If you haven't seen them and if you're interested, then and if people respond to them well, then maybe I can do like a third and final part type of thing. But we'll definitely wait and see regarding to that. Chaz Smash in the chat writes, Navarra Media and George Galloway get huge numbers on their shows. Why can't national streams come close? I mean, the only possible thing I could really think of is that it's just really shadow banning when it comes to it. Might be a bit of a cope answer, but I don't know. But I just think it's to do with the fact that that the mainstream or the establishment really just don't want our opinions to go public. I mean, when it comes to like nationalist groups, whether it's PA or if it's any other nationalist group for that matter, wanting to engage with the public, the establishment really don't like that idea because our opinion is right. Our worldview is a very commonsensical worldview at the end of the day. And if people actually were to take time and talk to us about our politics and what we believe in and what we stand for and what we hope to achieve at the end of the day, the general public would look at that and think, oh, I actually agree with a lot of things that are being presented, and possibly might even become a member at some point. The establishment really just don't really want that to happen, of course, which is why you see all these articles that come out and just in the most blatant way trying to portray us as if we're these extremists and all of that, which is why in these protests you have groups like Antifa and all of these anti-fascist, let's be honest, conformist LARPers basically trying to set the record straight and trying to silence us. Never mind the fact that these are people that are claimed to be anti-establishment, but they're really doing the work of the establishment, ironically enough. And yeah, I think that's partly the reason why you'll never see many national streams get big numbers is because of partly to do with that. I mean, maybe that might change one day, but I don't know. But we'll just need to wait and see regarding to that. So George Galloway is a stooge. Yeah, I don't necessarily trust George Galloway in my opinion, but anyways, BNP website was huge and BNP TV too. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there was a period where it was definitely massive back in the day, but maybe not now because of all the things that happened. But even then, I remember at that time, I think that I was in high school at that point. Now, I wasn't really too into politics. I was just kind of starting to get into it. I remember watching the it wasn't the big questions, that's on a Sunday or maybe during the weekend, but it's the one that airs at night. I think it's Question Time, I think it was called. And it was the one where Nick Griffin was on that particular episode. And I remember watching it and I remember seeing the aftermath of people talking about it and all of this. But even then, I remember just like not wanting to become a member, but I remember at that point I was just more fascinated with like the BNP and all of that. Despite the media always portraying nationalists as like these extremists and all that, maybe not as bad as it was back then, but compared to now. But I still remember at that point just being really interested and just quite fascinated by that because I've always wondered, well, what made them wanting to be part of this group? Like, what made them have this type of worldview, that type of idea? But of course, me being a nationalist now, I can understand, why they would want to be a nationalist and why we have this worldview type of idea. A question from Rory Herper in the chat. A personal question, Chief Moody. How old are your grandparents and are they both well and happily retired? No need to answer if you don't want to. I know that's completely fine. I would say maybe not to be too specific on their ages, but both of them are in their mid 60s, I believe. And they're still technically working because the retirement age, I don't know if this is covered with the whole of the UK, but I think the retirement age in Scotland at least is maybe 71, I think. Wait a minute, I want to double check that. It's around about in the 70s, like to get the retirement age, at least to retire in this very country. Let me just have a look and see. Retirement age UK. Oh, 66 years. State pension age is currently 66 years old for both men and women. You can check when you'll receive your state pension using the UK government with that. Yeah, so it's 66 years old. So I don't think both are at that age yet, but I wouldn't be surprised once they get to that age, they'll probably maybe in this case maybe start to retire when it comes to that. But even with that, they're happily married. You know, they're happily healthy and all of that. Maybe they're a bit tired and all that because again they're getting older and of course uh, there's even though they're still working, but they are aware of the fact that they're getting at that point where they're getting much older and they want to maybe relax and all of that at this point in time. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe once they get to that age, then they'll start to retire when it comes to that. So yeah, hopefully that answered your question, Rory Herbert, when it comes to that. So public address news: Galloway has been got at. I wouldn't be surprised with that. Ochiai Sam pushing the mixed race thing. Yeah, it's. I'm actually curious, Ochiai, when it comes to Japan because I remember seeing there was a news story about like a mass migration coming into Japan, and I remember seeing there was like videos or footage of vending machines because Japan is was somewhat famous for a lot of vending machines almost all over the place in Japan, and I remember seeing there was some vending machines that have been severely damaged by again I'm not sure if it's by the well again I wouldn't be surprised if it were the migrants considering that Japan prior to these migrants had a much lower crime rate. But again, with these migrants, I wouldn't be surprised if that were to shoot right up because of them appearing. So, um, but yeah, Chaz Smash. Any chance of a full interview with Jodie Kay? I mean, I did say that I would have her back on. So, in terms of like a full interview, I mean, maybe with that appearance on episode 200, I mean, you could maybe kind of make the argument it was somewhat of an interview. Well, an interview in the case of like how she been and where she's been going through it regarding to that. So, and even then, I think her story has already been told by so many people, like how she got into nationalism and all of that. So, I don't want to make it seem like it's a bit of a retread of that. But in terms of, but again, I would be happy to have her back on the show again at some point. So it's definitely possible to have her back on for the show, and I'll probably possibly might see her in person again at some point in the future as well. So we'll definitely wait and see with that. Joe Marsh is in the chat. How you doing, Joe? Thank you very much for watching Mood of the Nation. And like I said, folks, it's now 4 minutes past 7. We still have enough time for any questions to come through. So if you have anything to ask, please feel free to ask me in the chat, and I'll be happy to answer them. I will mention just now that I'm just looking through Twitter or X as it's called, what's going on with that platform. Apparently, the Iconoclast has been reinstated on that platform, which is really good to see. And hopefully more nationalists will be reinstated shortly, from what I can tell. Let me see. Let's see here. What's your first word that comes to mind when you see this? And it's a massive burger. Again, this is a post I've seen on Twitter or X. I'll just gonna call it Twitter because that's what it used to be called. That's what I'm known to use it for. And yeah, this to me is an ideal burger to have. Look at that. Might be incredibly fattening, I know, but I mean, just like you can't really resist that, can you? Yeah, that would be ideal to have. So that would be ideal to have. Another thing to mention too on the show, if you there's still again plenty of time to send a donation or two to the show, whether it be through PayPal or through Buy Me a Coffee. The links for those will be in the description down below, or the PayPal link is just up there. So if you want to send in a donation, you still can do so if you want to. Let's see. Views on Russia's progress in the war and possible Western response. Yeah, that's to do with the whole Ukraine conflict, isn't it? I mean, I'll be honest, right, regarding to that whole conflict. I mean, I don't particularly care about the whole thing. I'm more concerned about what's going on here in the UK, or more specifically here in Scotland, because that's of course where I'm from. In terms of like a possible escalation of what's going with that particular conflict, and as you said, possible Western responses. I mean, I hope it doesn't escalate to that, but considering our political climate as it is at the moment, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe some form of escalation might happen. But then again, there were other talks about potential escalation during the Gaza conflict with Israel and Palestine, but nothing really much came from that, from what I've heard of. So something might happen, possibly, maybe not, but in that case, I mean, I hope it doesn't escalate. But again, I'm just more concerned about what's happening over here in Scotland. Chiai-san, Chief Rudy Pedo get away, nationalists get arrested. I explained that to my audience, extremely important. Thank you very much. Because again, I don't know if that's something that's occurring in Japan, but it's something that is definitely happening here in the UK, where you're a pedophile, you basically get off scot-free, but if you're a nationalist, you basically get the hammer slammed onto you, essentially. And I don't know if it's like that in Japan, but if it isn't, then don't be surprised that will happen over there as well, considering it's happening here too. But yeah, so but thank you very much for mentioning that for your audience, or Chia-san. That's actually, I'm actually curious to see if you're, I know you're watching the stream at the moment, but if you're stream sniping the stream, wait a minute. Let's see here. Ah, you're stream sniping it, based, right. Hello, Ochia-san's audience, how you doing? Let me see. Konnichiwa. How do you say my name is Watashiwa no Chief Moody-san, something like that. If I butchered that in terms of, I do apologize, but there was a point I was kind of learning Japanese on an app. I can't remember exactly, but I was learning that. I was learning German, a bit of Italian, and I was learning a bit of Gaelic. I kind of maybe want to go back to that at some point, but maybe not. But we'll definitely wait and see with that. Where are the subtitles? Let's see. Joe Marsh in the chat. This camp at St. Athan that they are filling up with Afghans. I was doing a job there the other day and saw a family coming out, mother, father, and I counted the kids, 8 kids. They will get a house that a couple will really they will get a house that a couple with really good jobs could never afford. Yeah, it's sad that it really is utterly sad. There was also another report I've seen on STV News about a housing crisis in Scotland. I think specifically in, was it Glasgow or was it Edinburgh? It was one of those major cities in Scotland, and there's a housing crisis going on. Which, I mean, that's only. In my opinion, that's like code words for we need to house more migrants into these areas. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at that. Also, public address news: the Erskine locals are not pleased at mayors for being at all the private lets putting them into them. Scots end of the queue. Right, I'm assuming that's to do with like the update on Erskine regarding to that. Mayors have been buying up private lets in Renfrewshire, including Erskine. Right, so there's a lot of stuff that's going on in those areas just now. So it's a shame. It really is a shame that again they're doing all of this and trying to house these migrants instead of housing our own people at the end of the day. But let me see. Just having a quick look and see. Locals angry. I wouldn't be surprised if they were angry. Yeah, I would imagine they would be furious about this whole thing. Excuse me. I'll send a small donation for Otis, the dog food fund, Chief Brady. I mean, if you want to, that's entirely fine. There's probably people wondering, where is Otis? We haven't seen him in a while. Otis is still with us. He's just hanging around with my neighbor at the moment. I did ask my neighbor if they could watch him while I was out doing the stream, of course, and they're like, "Oh, that's completely fine, no worries." So he's just next door at the moment, and then once I've done with the show, then I'll collect him afterwards. After that, so, um, but yeah, he Otis is doing fine. I think my mom recently got him like a new collar. It's like a blue collar, but it's got his name on it. So whenever he gets if he gets lost or anything like that at all, then at least then people know that his name and how to contact us in that case if he gets found or anything like that. So yeah, there's that. But he is doing fine. He is doing dandy at the moment. So canine nationalism. Yeah, indeed. Let's see. 12 minutes past 7, so we've got about 15 minutes to go. Right, that's fine, no worries. Yeah, so I was mentioning the potential guest for the show at the moment. I was thinking about possibly having on Donald Kent on the show, the guy who's more, I think he does a few streams with the patriotic arts movement, I think it's called. The patriarch is usually behind that stream as well, but I'm thinking about maybe having him on the stream at some point. Maybe even also have Patriarch, excuse me, on the show as well. But if not, I'll definitely want to get Donald Kent on the show. And the reason for that being is because I know they do a lot of art. I've been interested in art and design for the majority of my life. I've studied graphic design when I was back in college at that time, and I think honestly I'm looking to maybe trying to get back into art and design in terms of when it comes to that. Uh, is it the White Art Collective? I think it's the White Art Collective, but I know they do their own streams on YouTube as well. The patriotic arts. It might be the White Art Collective. I'm not entirely too sure. Hyrith, please, Hyrith. I would consider have her on the show, considering that she followed me on X or Twitter. So maybe she kind of knows who I am. So I mean, if she wants to come on, I would definitely would have her on the show at some point. Again, though, considering the fact of what happened to her partner, who, of course, passed away unexpectedly. I know that was a long while ago, but I just hope that maybe she's fully recovered, and I know she's currently busy looking after her child and all of that. So, but hey, I mean, I'll be open to have her definitely on the show at some point. Watashi wa Chief Moody desu, right? Yeah, which translates to I'm Chief Moody, right? Well, I'll just try it for your stream, Ochiai-san. Watashi wa Chief Moody desu. How you doing? Let's see. Get the German politician. Oh no, you had to bring that up. No chance. Seriously. Yeah. So for those that don't know what No Chance or Clive is referring to, there is a German politician who's been going rounds on the internet, well, specifically Twitter, and there is footage of this and images of this on that platform, but for obvious reasons, I'm not going to showcase them at the moment because they're absolutely disgusting. Basically, it's this German politician by the name of, I think it's Norman something. Wait a minute. I'll just have a look through my phone again. I won't show it, but it's just not only is it absolutely utterly disgusting, but it just makes you wonder, like, why? Why would this person think it was a good idea to not only do these things, but just to upload them onto the internet? I don't know. Let me see if I can. Damn it! I think it was Norman something. It was Norman Heidemer or something like that. 1 second. I just yeah, that was something I didn't want to, of course, mention, but you had to bring that up, Clive. So thank you very much, and also thank you very much for watching Mood of the Nation, of course. Let me see here. I just want to have a quick look and see if I can find that on Twitter. But basically, the video in question, this German politician was licking toilet bowls and or the toilet urinals, that people or men piss in, and he was licking that. And I believe later on after that, in that same video, he was licking a toilet bowl, which again, I don't know why you would film yourself doing that. And then later today, there was a photograph of the same politician, but completely naked. The only thing that was blurred out, or there was a black bar, was on his penis, of course. But the thing is, he covered himself or smeared himself with fecal matter. It's again it. Ah, yes, right. German leftist politician Martin Neumeier. I think it's Neumaier. I hope I pronounced that right. If not, I apologize. But I've covered himself in feces and took a selfie. Why is the left like this? And these are the people who led our countries. Yeah, that's from English Rose. I know it's well. Another thing too, by the way, is these are the same people as well who will say that us, the nationalists or the right wingers or whatever terminology they want to throw at us, they're the people that say that we're the extremists and should be thrown out of society. And yet you have that politician who will do all kinds of degenerate shit, and yet they're supposed to be the moral arbiters of our society. You just can't make it up, can you? Ochia-san, great community looking after each other and their dogs. Indeed, thank you very much. Oh, speaking of which, I think, Rory, I just received your donation through PayPal, which again, thank you very much for your generosity. I'm sure I'll use that for Otis food, a doggy food fund. So, because he's even though he's constantly fed, but he always acts like as if he's always hungry, and it's like, Otis, stop! You've been fed, basically. But I'll make sure that £3 will go towards his doggy food and whatnot. So, Joe Marsh, they are trying to say he's a Nazi too. Why? Like, I don't. Oh God. Yeah, Eurovision taking notes. Yeah, I've not watched this year's Eurovision. I used to watch Eurovision quite a lot with my my friend. I would maybe go around to his house and we would do like drinking parties and watch that. But this year, I think maybe he was busy or something like that. But I remember like we would watch that a lot. And this year, I mean, I is probably a good thing that I didn't watch Eurovision this year, because I would have just seen, especially with the whole Palestine / Israel conflict going on. 'Cause I know that was like a major talking point for this year's Eurovision, and I've just seen all of these civic nationalists, showing their support for Israel's singer and whatnot. Like, oh, we have to show solidarity for the Jewish people in Israel. It's like, why? It's like you especially what's that lassie's name, a ginger one, she appeared on GB News a few times, Sophie something. She was one of those people where it was like, we have to support this Jewish singer. It's like, why? Are you Jewish? And if not, then why are you supporting people who clearly despise you? Like, why are you supporting people like that? I don't get it. No chance in the chat. I don't know why you'd film yourself doing that, implying Moody does this minus the camera. God, no. I would never. I just never, regardless if it's in front of a camera or not, I just don't understand why people would do that to themselves. Regardless if it's filmed or not. I don't understand why people would do that sort of thing. Again, smearing feces on themselves or licking toilet bowls or urinals or anything like that at all. I just don't understand that. I mean, and even looking back on those posts on Twitter, I just remember thinking, like, what was the point exactly? Like, what message or what was the point you were trying to get at here? Like, is this supposed to own the conservatives that, like, this is the way society should be nowadays? Because if that is the case, you're basically giving us, or you're basically giving us more talking points on why people like yourselves should be excluded from society. Because again, they like to have this like moral high ground, like they're the moral arbiters of how a society should run, when at the end of the day they're basically the polar opposite of that, and they're the prime example of what a society, or the people of society, should not be regarding to that. It's sickening. It's absolutely sickening. Let me see. Well said, Chief. Thank you very much. Public Address News. German for the I think it's Germany for the Germans. Yeah, indeed. I would say to that. Of course, Japan for the Japanese. So yeah, Ochiai, is it true in saying, kind of going back to what I was asking about the vending machines, but is it true in saying, or not even just the vending machines, but I think there were images I saw on X or Twitter of a particular, some streets in Japan, I think maybe even in Tokyo or some places in Japan, that were, again, there was no lettering or no any graffiti or anything like that at all. The streets were completely clean, but then when these migrants came, all of a sudden you see these same exact streets now are just completely damaged and just filled with filth and all of that. I mean, I don't know if that were to be the case when it comes to it, but yeah. So yeah, let's move on from that German politician, shall we? Because the fact that people like that actually exist in this world is shocking, to say the least. Let's maybe move on to other questions, if that's okay. So if anyone, we still got 7 minutes to go. So if you have another question to ask me, you can still do so if you want to. It could be any question you would like. I'm just having a look through in Telegram and seeing if there's anything updated or anything like that at all in this case. Chaz Smash, who do you think is the best looking bird in nationalism? I don't know. I mean, there are quite a few attractive women in the nationalist movement. I'll say that. In terms of like any specific one, I'm not entirely too sure, to be quite honest. But sorry, I'm just looking through Telegram. It's kind of stumped me with that question. The best looking bird in nationalism. Well, I would imagine maybe it could be like the bigger names in the nationalism movement, but I don't know. Maybe people like, maybe Brittany Sellner, maybe one of them, a very attractive looking woman. That woman from the Netherlands, I think, is Eva something. I can never pronounce her last name, but the blonde, blue-eyed woman, I would see where people would find her attractive in that case. Who else I would think? This from who's that Scandinavian one? Eva, I think she's Scandinavian. I don't know if it's from the Netherlands. I think she's from the Netherlands, if I remember correctly. But yeah, it's Eva something. I can't remember her last. Well, I do know the last name, but I just can't pronounce it. Let me see. Now, who has the best feminine propaganda voices in nationalism? That's another good question. I mean, there's quite a few you could see who would be like the best fit for that. I'll just answer Joe's question real quickly. Whoever watches that pile of dung anyway, that's to do with Eurovision and Israel, not even in Europe. Yeah, I've always thought that was interesting. Like, it's supposed to be a song competition, for European countries, but why is Israel being part of that when it's not even a European country? I mean, I've always wondered that. I just thought that was really weird. Chia-san, why would we want to side with either one unless you are Muslim or Jew? I mean, it's a good point. Italian one is hot. Who's the Italian one again? I know there's the Spanish woman, Isabel Peralta, I think her name is. She's quite attractive when it comes to that. So in terms of like attractive nationalist women in the movement when it comes to that, but that was so embarrassing for the UK. To be honest, the only one I've seen in terms of I thought that was a complete embarrassment in Eurovision was Ireland's showcase for that. I mean, what a complete mess that was when it comes to that. Absolutely just embarrassing. Rory Herbert, Nigel Farage was one presenter of the year at the TRIC or Trek Awards in 2023. He's been nominated again this year. Would you vote for him? And if not, who is your favorite TV presenter? In terms of TV presenters, I mean, I don't really watch regular television when it comes to that. And I don't really watch anyone who, of course, TV presenter wise, but I'm not entirely too sure on that fact because I don't really watch anything like that in this case when it comes to that. So, yeah, probably like an NA answer when it comes to that, Rory, when it comes to that answer. But Ochiai-san, Chief Rudy, yes, Koreans and Chinese are messing with our vending machines big time. All right, it's the Koreans and the Chinese. Interesting. I would have thought it would have been the other form of migrants, like the brown people or the blacks moved into when it comes to that. But if it's to do with Koreans and Chinese, then that's interesting. That's really interesting. Let's see. From No Chance, hottest guy in nationalism. What kind of a question is that? As if I would answer that. Like, I'm not. I'm. I'm heterosexual. I'm not gonna answer that particular question. I think that's more a question for like the ladies in the audience. If I have to be honest when it comes to that. So, let's see. Public address news toss up between the chief and the and the emperor. I think that's what I said. The hottest guy is Chief Moody. Well, tell me any. Well, to me anyway. Well, wasn't expecting that, Ochiai, but thank you very much. I don't think I would see myself as an attractive guy, but I mean, thank you very much. I guess. I appreciate that regarding to that. So, anyways, wow, I just noticed the time as well. Just before we end, is there? Well, we're not ending just yet, but any more questions that come through? If not, then we might as well just end the show just now because that's coming up to 7:30. So yeah, just before we end tonight, I do hope everyone has enjoyed tonight's episode. I definitely should be back for next week, for episode 202 or 202. And I think for that one, as I said, we're gonna make that like a look back sort of retrospect type of episode for Mood of the Nation. And then what's this? Jemima Puddle Duck or Jemima Puddle Duck. Chief Rudy is definitely the hottest guy in nationalism. Really? I mean, again, I appreciate the comments, but I don't think I would. I consider myself to be the, the attractive member of nationalism. But I appreciate the comments and nonetheless regarding to that. So, But yeah, sorry. Just to go back to what I was saying, I should be back next week. I'll definitely update you guys on more information on that through Telegram and, of course, on Twitter. So definitely follow me on those two platforms if you haven't done so already. For next week's one, again, retrospect episode for the week after that, or maybe the week after, I'm not too sure. Maybe for episode 203, maybe 204, that's when I will get my guest on the show. Possibly Donald Kent. I'm not too sure if I can definitely get him on. If not, I'll see if I can get someone on and then see for another guest appearance on that show and then wait and see from there. Great show again, Chief. Thank you very much, Public Address News. I hope everyone has enjoyed tonight's episode. If you still want to send a donation through, you still can through the links down below or the PayPal link just up there. And again, that's only if you want to send a shekel or two here and there, and then, of course, see from there. Thank you for the stream, and please take care, everyone. Same to yourself, English Rose. Thank you very much for being one of the mods for the show, as always. And yeah, that's going to be it for tonight's episode. And I hope to see you all again in the future for Mood of the Nation. And also, James Hayworth, how you doing? Thank you very much. Is there any other streams going on? Actually, I think maybe I didn't see a notification, but I'm sure James Goddard will be live on Twitter. I think he's usually live at 7:00, but I don't know if they're live just now because like I said, I haven't seen a notification from him at the moment. So I would say maybe check on Twitter if you have Twitter, and then see if you want to give that a watch. But other than that, I don't think there's any other streams going on tonight. But even saying that, I'm just gonna see if I can find an outro song for tonight's episode, and then we shall end it there, folks. Let me see. Where do I normally mainly likes? Like the videos. Let's see if I can find a song in there. Google Stream, thanks, and no worries. Chat Smash, Koreans in Japan, Jews in the UK. Well, it's interesting you say that, Ochiai-san, because when it comes to Koreans, I've always kind of seen them as the Asian Jews when it comes to Koreans, but that's just my opinion. So, but that's my opinion when it comes to that in that case. Right. What song to play us out with? I wonder. Oh, do you know what? I can maybe play this song. It's a cover of a song or like a country version. It's Blinding Lights, but it's a country version of the song, which I actually think is way better than the original, in my opinion. So we could possibly maybe play that out and then see from there. But yeah, with that, that's going to be it for tonight's episode. And again, I appreciate everyone coming along and hope to see you all again, potentially the same faces on the next one for episode 202. Because again, that episode is going to be a retrospect type of episode again, because it's celebrating the 3rd anniversary of the show. So hope to see you all there as well. Keep following me on Telegram and Twitter, because again, that's where I mostly do most of my updates. And as mentioned on episode 200, with a conversation between me and Mark Collett, Mark has asked me if I want to come on the PA Film Club at some point in the future. So I'll definitely keep you guys posted on when that's going to be happening. I still need to decide on what film I would want to cover for that particular show. But yeah, definitely follow me on Telegram and Twitter for any future updates for shows, appearances, and all of that. And then, of course, see from there. And yeah, that's going to be it. So again, thank you all very much. Hold on one second. Just seeing that they beamed the Palestinian scarf onto the Angel of the North is on Steve Voss's page. I'll have a look at that in just a moment. Who's the most Joe Marsh. Who's the most bipolar bird in nationalism? I mean, I do know the answer to that, but of course, I'm not gonna answer that, to be fair, but I think some of us know the answer to that in this case. So yeah, so with that, let's end the show there, and thank you all very much for watching. This is Chief Moody signing out. You have been watching the Mood of the Nation podcast, and I'll see you all in the next episode. Take care, stay safe, enjoy the rest of your evening, and I will see you all in the next one. Thank you all, and good night. Take care.
I've been trying to call. I've been on my own for long enough. Maybe you can show me how to love. Maybe I'm going through withdrawals. You don't even have to do too much. You can turn me on with just a touch, baby. I look around and Sin City's cold and empty. No one's around to judge me. I can't see clearly when you're gone. And I said, ooh, I'm blinded by the lights. No, I can't sleep until I feel your touch. I said, ooh, I'm drowning in the night. Oh, when I'm like this, you're the one I trust. Hey. Running out of time, 'cause I can see the sun light up the sky. So I hit the road in overdrive, baby. Oh, Sin City's cold and empty. No one's around to judge me. I can't see clearly when you're gone. And I said, ooh, I'm blinded by the lights. No, I can't sleep until I feel your touch. I said, ooh, I'm drowning in the night. Oh, when I'm like this, you're the one I trust. I'm just walking by to let you know I can never say it on the phone. We'll never let you go this time. I said, ooh, I'm blinded by the lights. No, I can't sleep until I feel your touch. I said, ooh, I'm drowning in the night. Oh, when I'm like this, you're the one I trust. Hey.